Spur of the moment video. I'm out here today, but I am suffering from a big lack of motivation. Not really complaining or anything, just being honest. Is fall ever going to really come? I got my azaleas pulled down the other day. I've got all this debris though that I need to move to my burn pile, which is another story because I can't burn anything, but my burn piles are growing. Is fall ever going to come? I tell you, the weather can weigh on you. I understand now why people in severe droughts and everything can really get depressed and down, and even worse sometimes if their whole livelihood depends on it. I'm just little old me. I'm just hobby farming, doing gardening and things like that, and yet this weather wears on me. I've got my water going now, and I've had it going for a while. What I do is I set my timer on my phone for about 20 minutes, and then I have to just work the hose around the yard, but it's really not doing a whole lot of good right now. The reality of it is the soil temperature is still high. I think my latest notice said it was still 85 degrees. The temperature has fallen. Technically, we're not in the hundreds anymore. It's telling me right now we're at 85 degrees. It's about 11 o'clock in the morning. I planted peas all along in there like 3 weeks ago. A few are coming up. A few. Got a few like that in here right now. And a few more down the row. But I could definitely come back in here and fill in the gaps. I'm just going to wait though. I'm just going to wait. I just don't think this soil is just ready for a lot of growing. I have a few here. Everything looks brown, which it's going to look bad in the winter anyway. But it just looks brown. My okra was doing good and putting off a few pods, and then all of a sudden it's beset by something that is eating the little pods before they actually get ready. I was having trouble with ants. You see all those ants that are congregating on some of the pods. The other pods are getting something that's kind of digging into them the minute they get ready to pick. It's like little worms that are getting into them. Same spot. I've noticed that on other ones, and so today I'm just going to chop and drop this. It's looking terrible. Right now it looks wilty because it's the hottest part of the day, kind of. It's getting hot, so it kind of droops. But I'm fixing to just chop and drop it. I'm done with it. All along my ramp, everything I planted is gone because of the armadillo and just the heat. So I quit watering this a while back, so it's gone. I know you can still see some green over here, and that looks promising, but there's nothing to it. There's nothing to it. These are my Sea Island cowpeas. I have not seen the first cowpea off of any of these yet. In this heat, the blooms just drop on the ground, and nothing. Nothing. This big stand of them here just got so big and healthy looking, and then they started just dropping blooms and turning yellow. They can't put off what they need to put off and to grow the pods in this kind of heat. So they're doing. I kind of was hanging in there with these two, just thinking, well, if it cools off, they'll pop back maybe. And that might be true, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and chop and drop these two. Kind of clean up my yard a little bit. When it's too hot for pepper plants, like these, they're all droopy. They're just struggling so much. When it's too hot for pepper plants, it's just too hot. In my little driveway beds, I had planted some black Valentine bush beans and some Kantari bush beans. I only had one black Valentine come up right there. So last week I decided to go ahead and put some strike bush beans in here because I have a little bit better luck with strikes. And sure enough, they're starting to come up. Got a little bit of those coming up. And on the other side of the string too, a little bit of those. So they're missed spots. They're not great germination. I've got a lot of missed spots, but they're at least coming up. It's better to have something than absolutely nothing. The Kintari beans, which have done good in the past, they just couldn't handle this heat. This is strike bush beans that are coming up here. And that's just the way it's gonna be. Maybe the other beans will pop up when it cools off, maybe. I planted like crazy in here. I planted. I see 1, 2, 3 jicamas coming up, or jicamas, however you want to say it. They're coming up there. But you're gonna see a whole lot of brown dirt for everything else. Not much is coming up. Down here, you do see a little green, but that's some broccoli plants that I bought at the store and planted those. A couple of them look like they might bite the dust, but 3 or 4 of them look like they might make it. So who knows? I have a couple of little beans striving to come up there, but everything else I've planted is either waiting or it's just not going to come up. This should be, in the spring, if I had planted this many seeds, this would be a green growing garden already, because it's been almost a month. But as you can see, there's nothing. This bed over here was extensively planted in American purple top rutabagas and some green beans, and nothing. Nothing. It just is too hot. It doesn't want to come up. They don't want to germinate. Probably gonna have to replant everything. You can see a little grass that's green there, but that's from my sprinkler around this little garden bed, just trying to keep it moist, trying to keep it where something could germinate. The rest of my yard has not been mowed in 2 months, but the grass isn't growing, so it's okay. Well, I'm not having to mow, so that's a good thing. But it's brown, it's crunchy. You can probably hear my feet crunching on stuff as I'm walking. There's just simply been no rain. In the part of Louisiana that I'm in, we've had no rain. My daughter lives 40 miles to the southeast of me, and they've had some rain, not much, but they did get a couple of thunderstorms. One of them lasted an hour. We have gotten nothing, absolutely nothing here. This is my main problem. I'm stacking up limbs and stuff. I have had 3 huge limbs fall out of the trees that are right in the front of my house by my Mary statue. One of them I showed you on a video one time, and this is the trunk from it. We had to cut it with a chainsaw to move that limb. It was like a small tree had fell out of a bigger tree. And it's still sitting here. We haven't been able to burn it or anything. Then later, this long limb fell, about 20 foot long. And then this third one fell. It's a pretty big branch, pretty long, and it had an even thicker trunk than that second one. But that's what fell the other day. And I've got some footage, not of it falling, but of the day that it fell. I'll show you really quick. Well, I just had another limb fall out of my tree. I was over there making rows in my small corn patch garden, and I decided to take a break. I came sat on my porch steps to drink some water, and I heard something. I looked up, and this big old branch fell out of my tree. This is the third one. I didn't tell y'all about the second one. I showed you the big long first one that fell out, but then I had another, and now today I have this one that just fell out of the tree. I need to get rid of this debris. It's starting to pile up. Pretty sure my armadillo gets in this a lot, because when my dogs, when I let them out in the mornings, they run straight to this pile and go crazy. I feel like something is living up in that pile. Maybe my little armadillo, but I'm not sure. And then I've started a new pile over here, because the last few days I've used my little electric mini chainsaw that I got, and I've been cutting a lot of limbs out of everything. I've been limbing up azaleas, limbing up gardenia bushes, anything that just needs to be prettied up, and I've been putting it in this pile. I don't want to put the piles too close together. That's why it's all spread out here, because we're under a burn ban right now, and if I burn anything, I would get in bad trouble. So we can't burn anything. I really want to make my property look better. Right now I'm not happy. It's so dead looking. My soil, when I walk in my backyard, well, we're not going to call it soil, we're going to call it dirt. We're going to call it sand. It's just sand. This is the tracks from our golf cart going through there. It's just sand. And there's no moisture. We just haven't had any rain. I was keeping up with when it did rain, and it rained a couple of times in July. We may have got a little something maybe for an episode or so in August. But this is, oh gosh, the 20th of September. And I don't know that we've had any rain in the whole month of September. And every time I get a notification on my phone, it says that dry times, next few days are going to be dry, no rain in sight. So this is my view of my backyard. It's nothing. It's just a desolate space. It never grew a ton of grass anyway, but it sure looked a lot better than this when we first bought the place. And then of course the front yard is just brown grass. I had talked to you before about the Harvard Business School of Philosophy that I had read about one time, which said in slow times and bad times for the economy, which I could substitute here and say with the weather, bad times with the weather, instead of being idle, to use that time to work on your infrastructure so that when the good times come, you're ready. And the biggest example of that could be my corn patch here. I really could be using this time to go ahead and till it up and be flipping over this grass and letting this grass die out. Obviously, I got to chop and drop some things. But I'm holding off because of how hot it is and the fact we've had no rain. I really think that if there is any soil that's a few inches down that's still kind of healthy and moist, I don't want to flip it up to the top right now and have it just sit here and dry out. I really feel like I need to hold off on doing some of this infrastructure work and wait until I know that I probably have some rain in the forecast. That's my thinking. What's your thoughts on that? I feel like tilling it right now would just be taking dry dirt, pushing it down, taking decent soil, pulling it up, but then watching it dry out over the next few weeks. Gotta have some rain sometimes. It's disheartening to go run an errand and be somewhere and there be a little shower and I have to turn on my windshield wipers, and then as we turn to come home, it's dry as a bone. We went somewhere the other night and we got 3 miles from our house and we could tell they had had a shower, and we were like, all right, there's water on the road, all right. We turned on our road, got to coming home, and there was nothing, and it still has been nothing since then. So I try to always look for the good. I do have some rattlesnake pole beans. They're not thriving, but they're up. They've kind of stalled out at this point, but they're up, and they're not turning yellow or anything, so that's okay. And over here, I have some brown speckled climbing cowpeas, and they're up. And sometimes cowpeas and things do sit there at this stage for a little while, and then all of a sudden they'll take off. But I really feel like they need a little rain. They're getting water from my hose, but they know the difference. This is the trees that drop the limbs. So it makes me nervous to be under these trees. I don't know if third time's the charm. They've already dropped 3 and that's enough. Or if there's gonna be more coming, who knows. A few squash that I planted not too long ago have popped up over here. This area gets a lot of shade. And I think if anything's gonna have a shot, it's gotta have some shade right now. So the squash came up. And then of course my handy strike bush beans, I planted them down here. I had planted some more squash, but they didn't come up down here for some reason. So maybe these bush beans will give me a little output. Whatever I can get, I'll get, and I appreciate. In the meantime, I'll just keep on plugging. Thank y'all so much. This is Lainey at Hilltop Home Place. Bye-bye.